Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, we tell you about Bobby Nite's first public return to IU since his firing nearly 20 years ago. And we give you the preview heading into the greatest college weekend in the world. This is Hoosier Sports Night. Welcome into Hoosier Sports Night. We're glad you could join us. I'm Michael Tilka. We have plenty to tell you about on this week's show, but first, we have to take you back to last weekend. On Saturday, former Indiana men's basketball head coach Bobby Nite made his first public return to Bloomington's campus since 2000, after Nite was dismissed from his head coaching position with the team. Nite made his return on Saturday afternoon to attend a baseball game between Indiana and Penn State, with footage seen here by our very own Matt Cohen. Nite arrived to Bart Kaufman Field and was then escorted to the press box in a golf cart by an IU official to watch the matchup. Nite then stayed for the majority of the contest in privacy, then departed before the game ended. Nite also arrived alongside former Herald Times editor Bob Hamill and with IU Deputy Director of Athletics Scott Dolson. Neither Bobby Nite nor the IU Athletic Department have made a public statement about Nite's visit at this time. Changing gears now, quite literally, to the greatest college weekend in America, as Meredith Struwing brings us the preview for this weekend's Little 500 races.
With the Little 500 just days away, it's hard not to be excited for the men's and women's races that bring forth more than 25,000 fans each year. But which aspects of the race have changed from a past rider's perspective?
It's a different level of focus.
That's Nick Kappas, a former Little 500 rider with Alpha Sigma Phi in the 2007 to 2008 season and an Octoon rider from 2008 to 2010.
Octoon Baby by U2 came out, and the team that founded it loved that album. So they named their team Octoon, and then it just took off after that and stayed.
Octoon disbanded a year after Kappas left due to low recruitment, while sororities like Delta Gamma and Kappa Alpha Theta and fraternities like Delta Chi and Acacia have notable teams in the race each year. Octoon was an independent team, a rare thing to see today on the track.
There's not many independent teams, but they've taken over. And it's because they have different reasons why they're riding. They're also not bound by a lot of the regulations that fraternities and sororities have to abide by.
This year's Little 500 race fields the lowest number of teams in 58 years. All 33 men's and 32 women's teams qualified for the big race. It takes time, commitment, and hard work to cross the finish line.
Little 5 riders are college athletes. They train year-round. It's the most intense intramural sport I've ever seen in my entire life, in my time. You were having select teams that were doing winter training. Everyone was doing summer training. That was normal. But winter and spring break, very few stayed. So many more people stay now. Track is constantly packed during spring break.
With intensity also comes risk, and as a former Little 500 coach, Kappas is well aware of the danger riders can face.
As a coach, your number one thought always is safety. Like, you are responsible for someone else's kid, and you're responsible for winning. So how do you juggle those? You don't want to hurt someone by overtraining them or putting them in a precarious situation, but you also don't want to lose.
Securing fast times on race day can mean crashes and mishaps are bound to happen, something Kappas and his teams have all experienced.
Well, it never stops hurting, dude. Like, you just go numb and you just deal with it, okay? I have girls that still have cinders in them. It looks like little, pen pecks. So, I mean, you have to be okay with that kind of stuff.
When it comes down to the last seconds of the race teams have been training all year long for, it's their mindset that will earn them the title.
To be able to win at that race, you have to have a serious amount of dedication, but you have to have a serious amount of crazy.
For Hoosier Sports Night, I'm Meredith Struwing.
For more on this weekend's races, be sure to catch this week's episode of The Toss-Up as some familiar faces bring you their predictions and observations heading into the men's and women's races. On Wednesday night during International IU Day, no less, the Indiana baseball and softball teams both hosted the Purdue Boilermakers in key midweek matchups. Here's IUSTV Sports coverage of everything that happened.
On national TV on Wednesday night at Bart Kaufman Field, IU defeated Purdue 7-6 in 10 innings to pick up the first rivalry win of Jeff Mercer's career. There was late game heroics that helped IU win this game, but Austin, the star of tonight may have been Tommy Summer.
Yeah, the left-hander in his second appearance coming off an injury that kept him out for around a month. He came in, he had 6 innings, he struck out 6, only gave up 1 hit and no runs, just truly a great outing for the left-hander on Wednesday night, and Jeff Mercer was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, Tommy was incredible. He really won the game. He won the game for us in the first inning. Comes in, bases loaded, and gets out of that jam, I think, without giving up a run. And he was such a competitive guy. He can execute a pitch at both sides of the plate. Changeup was really good, and you really trust him to be able to pitch in big moments, and he was terrific tonight.
Before Drew actually could even step into the bouncing back very quickly, scoring 3 in the bottom of the first inning, and later going up 6-2 over the Boilermakers. But it was in the top of the 9th inning that Purdue tied the game down to its last strike. The game went to extra innings, and that was where Cade Bunnell won the game for IU with a single to left field, driving in Tyler Van Pelt for the game-winning run as IU won 7-6. Jeff Mercer's talked a lot about the journey that Cade Bunnell has gone on to get to this point. He has not been in the lineup much. It was what he saw in the cage that helped him have confidence in Cade Bunnell in that spot.
You hope to work every day because you don't know what day it's going to be that you figured out for the rest of your career. And so if Cade Bunnell is not in the cage working his butt off on a no stride so that when he needs it against a guy throwing the ball 94 and overpowering him, he's not prepared to go to that. And so I was just really happy for him to step in and be prepared for that moment.
With the win, IU improved to 20-12 on the season. Purdue drops to 10-21. The win is not a conference win for the Hoosiers, as this actually was a non-conference midweek game. IU's next series will be a 4-game set against the 36th ranked in the RPI Evansville Aces over this little 500 weekend.
But hey, the Hoosier baseball team wasn't the only one in action on Wednesday night. The softball squad hosted Purdue at Andy Moore Field. Let's toss it over to Jordan Gould and Will Trubshaw for more on them.
Thanks, guys. Jordan Gould, Will Trubshaw here at Andy Moore Field. Got you covered as IU softball earned the split against in-state rival Purdue today. We'll start with game 1. Tara Traynor got the ball, and now I'm going to hand you the ball for this next question. What did you see from Tara in that one as Indiana, got the 2-1 win? She pitched fantastic, went the distance, and really kept her team in the game when the offense wasn't having it today.
You hit it right on the head. Tara Traynor, only 3 hits given up, 1 run, 9 strikeouts over 7 innings, and the offense did all they needed to do in that first game. They got her 2 runs of support, and she took it the rest of the way. Great job there for Traynor in game 1. That second game, though, a little bit of a different story. The Hoosiers' offense kind of went cold really for the rest of game 1, and then up until the 4th inning of game 2, they put up 4 runs, but they needed a few more, and they just weren't able to get that. Things kind of fell apart, and Purdue made that big comeback, ultimately winning that one in extras 5-4.
Yeah, that offense is stagnant right now. We talk about game 1. Indiana got both of their runs in the first inning on 2 RBI doubles by Maddie Westmoreland and Katie Lacefield. And then turning on to game 2, where the Hoosiers had that big 4-run inning and really started with just small ball, the bunts, and they executed, and Purdue made some mistakes and they got some runs home. So how can Indiana continue to have that success playing small ball, who they are, against Maryland here coming up at home?
Yeah, it'll be offensive production. Maryland's a lot like Purdue, where they're going to stay in the ball game. They're going to keep fighting. They're going to battle. They're not going to give up. They're going to swing the bats. And so, we just got to score 1 more than them.
Going off what Coach says, the Hoosiers' big thing is they need to get all the bats working. It's not just the small ball, because that's something they do very well, running the bases, putting the bunts down. They got to get the long ball working too. We've seen contributions all year, and when the offense is at its best, the ball is going out of the park. They're hitting for extra bases too. It's not just singles and stuff.
Well, Terrapins coming to town here this weekend. Should be a good series, and Indiana can get back in the win column as maybe they can get a new streak going there. Well, guys, I don't have the best of arms, so I don't know if I can throw it back all the way to Beckley Studio, but I am going to toss it back to you guys.
Up next, the baseball team will hold a 4-game series against the Evansville Purple Aces, with the first game being held in Evansville on Friday, along with 3 games in Bloomington, including a doubleheader Saturday and a series finale on Sunday. As for the softball team, they will also be in Bloomington for the weekend as they face Maryland starting on Friday at 6 o'clock, with games on Saturday and Sunday starting at 2 and 1 o'clock respectively. For those of you in need of some football in your lives, spring football is here, as IU's annual spring game is this Friday night. Fans watching the Little 500 women's race can head over to Memorial Stadium afterwards to catch the game, with a kickoff set at 7 p.m. The Hoosier football team has been practicing for over a month now and will finally get the chance to take the field in front of their home fans. With the regular season still months away, new offensive coordinator Kalen DeBoer said the team's focus is to maintain consistent improvement up until their fall slate begins.
We still got time, and I always tell the guys, as long as we are making consistent strides forward, it's amazing what we can become at the end of August when we've gone through spring ball, their summer, and then fall camp. You know, as long as we don't have this, okay, I'm perfectly fine with where we're at as long as we're going this direction.
The Hoosiers will open up their fall season on August 31st when they face the Ball State Cardinals in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. When Hoosier Sports Night continues, we have the women's golf recap from their week in South Carolina. And we bring you the latest in IU women's tennis recruiting. You're watching Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello, I'm Juliana Mary, reminding you it's not just about the scores and stats in the sporting world. If you need to know more than who won or lost, you should watch The Toss-Up, where some of the best beat reporters around dive deeper into the topics of the day.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night. The women's golf team has officially wrapped up their week in Sunset, South Carolina, with the conclusion of the Clemson Invitational. With inclement weather canceling the final round of the tournament, the Hoosiers finished in 15th place in a field of 18 schools, shooting a combined 9 over par in the shortened weekend. Alexis Maistowski led the way for Indiana, shooting a 5-under par 67 in the second round, which tied the second-best single-round score in school history. Maistowski would finish the weekend tied for 41st, shooting 2 over par in the tournament. The Hoosiers have a quick turnaround as they head to West Lafayette to play in the Lady Boilermaker Classic on April 13th and 14th. With the end of the season rapidly approaching, the women's tennis team is looking forward towards the future. Next year, the Hoosiers will lose Madison Appel and Natalie Whalen. The seniors play at the number 1 and 2 positions in singles, respectively. Indiana has big roles to fill, but will have 2 new faces among the returning 6 players. It was announced Friday that Indiana women's tennis signed 4-star recruit Lexi Kubas from Connecticut. The left-hander's career-high ranking was number 77 in her recruiting by tennisrecruiting.net. Just 4 days later, Xiaowei Rose Hu signed with Indiana. From Beijing, China, the future Hoosier has been given a career-high junior ranking of 286 in the world by the International Tennis Federation. In the meantime, the Hoosiers will look to bounce back after dropping a match to rival Purdue 5-2. They will continue their road trip with a match against Penn State on April 12th and Ohio State on April 14th. The men's tennis team is falling into a trend. For the 3rd straight week, the Hoosiers have started off strong with a win before falling to a highly ranked team their next match. This past weekend, Indiana went on the road to grab a 5-2 win against Wisconsin before facing defeat by the same score against number 36 ranked Minnesota. The Hoosiers did pick up their first road win against the Badgers, but their overall road record still sits at a dismal 1-5. Freshman Vikesh Singh was the only Hoosier to pick up multiple wins over the weekend. The victories add to his strong rookie year with his 6th win in dual match play. Indiana will return home for 3 matches this weekend. They'll face conference opponent Nebraska on Saturday before taking on Iowa and St. Louis on Sunday for Senior Day. That does it for our show this week, but don't forget to like our page, IUSTV Sports, on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUSTV Sports. For our entire production crew behind me, I'm Michael Tilka. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.